Okay, well, thank you so much for coming today to the How to Talk to Your Daughter workshop. It's really very close to my heart, this topic. Being who I am and my experiences in life, it's really going to hopefully give you some tools to help you build a stronger relationship with your daughter. So, without further ado, let me just get started off by introducing myself. If you know who I am, or if you don't know who I am, I'm Jennifer Della Quadri. I am a certified life coach. I work with teen girls and moms on all the things, whether it be boy drama, girl drama, body image, relationships, self-doubt, confidence, all of the things I work with to help build a strong foundational relationship. I have two teen girls of my own, and my background, I spent 14 years as a classroom teacher, and I'm also a certified yoga instructor. So I use all the modalities to really help me support those who would like support in it. Also, what I would like to add is when you are able to better handle the things, the struggles in your life, you're better able to build a strong communication and foundation with your daughter. So that's really what I work on with my clients is helping them sort through what's holding them back, whether it be the self-doubt or it's anxiety, just kind of getting to the core of what the struggle is so that the relationship can be built from there. And each person is not carrying in their own doubts and struggles in the relationship, and the support can be mutual. Also, just to note, I'll be hosting one of these workshops monthly from here on out. My plan is to do the last Wednesday of every month at this time, doing all different topics. If there's something specific you'd like to learn about, let me know and I can put it in there. But just kind of be on the lookout for it. I'll send out reminders and everything in advance, but this will be a monthly thing from here on out. Free monthly class to help you learn how to build a better relationship with your daughter. Also, I wanted to start with this topic, the communication topic, because in any relationship, communication is everything in building mutual trust and respect. Anytime I'm working with a teen or a mom, an adult, and there's conflict and struggle, it all comes down to a lack of communication, miscommunication, or no communication at all. So if that's ever happening, things will get misconstrued, and that's where struggle and doubt and questioning and drama and all of the things that's put strain on the relationship can start to show up. So, starting with building a strong foundation for communication, this will help you get there. So, what to expect tonight? What I'll be starting with is talking a little bit about how to talk to your daughter. I'll share with you some things not to say and why. I'll also share with you a little bit about listening, the three levels of listening, and which ones are the most effective when you're talking to your daughter. I'm going to talk about acknowledging and validating her feelings and what that looks like. And then we'll move on to empowering questions and helping her make decisions on her own. And lastly, how to say what you're saying and to get your point across in an effective way. And finally, we'll finish off with some Q&A. So if you have any questions at the end, let me know and I will be happy to answer them then. So first off, let me just start by telling you and commending you, thanking you for being here. Just even putting this time aside in your day to learn more about how to best support and communicate with your daughter shows that you really have a commitment to supporting her and being a good, effective parent for her. No one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. And keep that in mind as I share what I'm sharing. Of course, these are tools to be used, but know that it isn't always going to go the way you want it to go, and always to give yourself grace. You're a human, she's a human, you're both having a human experience, and it's the feelings and frustrations are totally normal and understandable. So keep that in mind as we go. Having these tools in your back pocket will help you in those moments of heightened emotion so that you can almost go into that mode where you are stepping into, here I am to support her. I'm removing myself from my feelings so that I can support her and meet her where she is. So just thank you for being here, and that your daughter hopefully will really appreciate the fact that you are such an involved and caring parent. All right, so we're going to start with what not to say. So think about, if you've ever, you can just do a quiet giggle or a thumb up on your own, if you've ever been in this situation. So she comes to you and she says something to you, and you respond to her in a way that you think is just totally like not a big deal. It's just something you said, you have no agenda behind it. And either A, she shuts down and stops talking to you about it, or B, she gets angry and upset and either storms off or just shuts you out. It's so common. We've all been there. And then you end up looking back and thinking, what did I say? I don't even think what I said was anything wrong. Why is she so upset? And then what ends up happening is you feel like you're walking on eggshells around her. You feel like she's so volatile, and you don't want to set her off by just saying something that you didn't mean anything by. So that's really where I want to have you think of when I talk about what not to say. So when you say these things, you may not even realize how it's being received. So when you share with her, when you're talking with her, specifically when she's sharing something that she's upset about, or she's wanting upset about something and she's coming to you, she's wanting support. Anything that is either judgy or preachy, anything that could come across as judgy or preachy will cause her to shut down. So things like, you're overreacting, or you're being overly dramatic. This isn't a big deal. Or even, there's really no reason to get upset here. And why are you so upset? This is just silly. You may be thinking these things, and a lot of the time it's probably likely you're thinking these things, but saying them out loud is like fanning the flames. And that is not what you want to do here, because that will get both of you worked up and it's not going to solve any problems. When she hears these things, these words coming from her mouth, she takes it as, my feelings don't count. My feelings aren't important. I can't talk about what I'm thinking. I'm silly. I'm not normal. When your daughter comes to you and she's wanting to share something she's upset about, really what she's wanting to hear is that she's okay, that she's normal, that this isn't a problem. And that's your first job. So, first, just check your response. Try to avoid jumping into that need to give advice or to offer your opinion. And we will certainly get to that, offering your opinion and giving advice, a little bit later. But that is really where the stop sign comes out, right? Where she'll back off and she'll be like, don't tell me what to do. Meanwhile, you're thinking, well, you came to me with a problem. I'm trying to help you. Again, the communication is everything here. So, first, when she comes to you and you're noticing what she's really needing is support, and she's not asking me a question and she's in a heightened emotional state, step back, take a breath. And the first thing, what we're going to talk about, is the most important thing with communication, and that's listening. Speaking is not the most important thing in communication. It is being able to effectively listen. So when you know that what she's needing right now is support, you go into listen mode. So there are 3 levels of listening. Level 1 is really where the listener has an agenda. The listener is wanting to get something out of the discussion. So, like I said, this is going to cause her to shut down. But imagine she comes to you and she says something like, I had the hardest time finishing my homework last night. A level 1 response would be completely focused on the listener, which means there's no thoughts about how it relates to the speaker. So I had the hardest time doing my homework last night would sound like, well, maybe you should start prioritizing your time better. I know when I use a planner, I always get my things done on time. Shut down. You're talking about you. I don't want to hear about you. I want support with me. So avoid giving the advice. Listen. So that is when level two listening comes in. And it's listening to hear versus listening to respond. And it really comes down to paraphrasing and mirroring what she's saying. And the benefit in that is basically there's no thoughts or agenda on the part of the listener. And it really gives her an idea that you are there to listen to her, not to impart your opinion. So, what that would sound like is I had the hardest time finishing my homework last night. Level two response would be, let me find it. Okay. You had a struggle, but you did it. Congratulations. So, you're just mirroring back what she said. Does she have a struggle? That's it. And maybe commending her on her ability to overcome it. So that's level two, just repeating back what you heard. Then there's level three listening, which is intuitive listening. Listening more for more than what the words are saying. Looking at her energy, looking at her body language, getting an idea of what's the underlying feeling behind what she's saying. So that would sound like, I had the hardest time finishing my homework. And you would say, it sounds like you were really dedicated to finishing, but got overwhelmed and on your workload. So it's validating that she had a feeling, noticing the undertone of what she's saying, and saying, you know what, I can hear that you're overwhelmed here. The majority of effective communication with your daughter will come down to level two and level three. When in doubt, always mirror, always paraphrase. Don't try to think of coming up with something to say to respond. Just repeat back to her what she said. Simple. That's it. And I know the first time I tried that, I'm like, it feels really silly, but I tried it. It works. Like it is like drop to the fire, water on the fire, like psh, I feel heard. So always listening to hear, not listening to respond. Once you listen to what it is that she's saying to you, listening to understand. And the next part is acknowledging that you heard. So you hear it, then you acknowledge back to her what you hear. And this sends a message to her, wow, I'm really being heard right now. They're really listening to me. And that will give her permission to feel the way she feels and most likely open up to you about what's going on. So, what acknowledging sounds like is what I'm hearing you say is, what you're telling me is, or it sounds like you're feeling blank. So, just repeating back what you said. I heard you say that. And that just lets her know, sends a message. Okay, they're listening. I'm being heard. So, first listen, let her know you're listening by acknowledging. Step three is to validate her feelings. At this time, you still have not said one thing about what you think or your opinion. Nothing, no judging, just listening, acknowledging, and then validating. Like I said before, when your daughter comes to you and she's upset about something, what she is wanting is to be heard and know that she's okay. Know that what her feelings are, whatever they are, it's not a problem and that it's going to be okay. You could say it's going to be okay 100 times. That's not necessarily going to be effective. So when you validate her, it's just letting her know that you can see things from her perspective. It does not mean that you agree with her. In fact, you may not agree with her at all, and that's okay. It's just acknowledging, yes, I can see what you're saying. Take the word I out of it completely when you validate. So oftentimes the tendency is to be like, oh, yeah, I totally understand. Right. And that's fine. But still, it's putting it back on you. So validating and making it more about her would sound like it makes total sense that you would feel that way. Or anyone in that position would feel the same way. Just continuing to say, it's okay. It's totally normal. What she's feeling is valid. That's it. And leave it at that. Once you've acknowledged and validated, you're going to reassess what's going on here. If she's really upset, you may need to go back to the acknowledge and back to the validating. So, if you've ever been in the situation where something happened to her and she just wants to vent, this is where acknowledging and validating over and over and over will come in handy. She'll share one thing, you acknowledge, validate. She'll keep going on and on and on and on. And you just keep acknowledging and validating over and over and over until you notice she's calmed down a little bit. You'll see her energy soften. Maybe she won't be as upset or talking or crying or yelling or whatever it was. You'll see that it's like she's been able to release whatever it is that was upsetting to her. When you see that, then you can move on to the next step, which is empowering her. And in empowering, it's just a matter of asking her what she wants to do about it by asking empowering questions. And I'll give you a few examples in a moment. But when you give her an empowering question, it puts the ball in her court. Again, instead of you saying, well, you should do this, or you should do that, she'll shut down, or she'll hear it and be like, yeah. When it comes from her, when it's her idea, it's going to be more meaningful and she'll take more ownership of doing whatever it is she decides to do. So empower her to decide what she wants to do. So, some really great empowering questions that you could ask are, what do you want to do about this? Or how do you want to handle this situation? Or what's really bothering you about this? And another one that's really good is, how do you feel about that? So just asking it, putting it all on her, letting her reflect, letting her decide. And at this point, if you do have some amazing words of wisdom to impart, ask her permission first. So what that would be like is, I have some insight I'd like to share. Would you mind if I shared some of my thoughts? Or would it be okay with you if I told you what I think? And that gives her the opportunity to open the door to what it is you have to say. Instead of you just barging in and saying, here's what I think, it'll open her up to whatever it is you have to say. And if she disagrees, she still gave you permission to say it. It wasn't pushed upon her. So in that case, if she gives you permission, by all means, share your thoughts, share your advice, right? Ask her, how would you feel about hearing my advice on this? Maybe she doesn't, and that's okay. And you keep it to yourself, which may be hard. You're only human, right? You've been through the things that she's been through, maybe, and you want to say what you want to say, but let her be the one to decide. Okay. So asking the empowering questions, imparting your advice. And here's what I want to say about all the acknowledging, all the validating, and all the empowering questions. None of it will be effective unless you have a good tone when you're saying it. And I'm not talking about like you're frustrated and you're calming your voice down to say what you're saying. I'm talking about you feel calm on the inside and what you're saying is truly calm. And this takes practice. Being able to detach yourself from that emotion and from what's going on with her and wanting to fix it or being angry about it or whatever is hard. And what can be really helpful in this situation is finding a mindfulness practice or some way to help you manage your emotions in any situation, which can be helpful in all areas of your life, but it's so helpful when supporting her. Because if you're able to come to her in a calm and curious manner, she will get the message that it's okay. Maybe this isn't such a big deal. Maybe this will be okay. And it's like putting water on the fire, right? Versus fanning the flames. It's like one drop at a time. Everything you say is slowly helping her put out the fire so that she can make a decision for herself about what she wants to do or how she wants to handle it, or if she wants to do anything at all. Sometimes it's just venting that she needs and no problem solving. So, up until this point, unless you've asked permission, you have not shared your opinion at all. You've just given her the option and the opportunity to share what's coming up for her and get it off of her chest. So, when I was talking before about things not to say, is what can happen if she continually feels like she's not being heard, is she'll stop sharing. She'll stop sharing how she's feeling with you and also maybe start hiding her emotions even from herself and bottling them up. And this can be a real problem because the more dormant and the more she bottles up those emotions, the more it'll impact her health, her anxiety, her mental health, her physical health. And over time, that can have a really negative impact. So, even just having that soft place to land and be able to share how she's feeling with you can mean everything to her, even if it's not solving the problem. Okay. So, another thing I wanted to touch upon here is I once had a client come to me, a mom, and she was following all the steps of being supportive and being calm and, approaching her daughter's frustrations and heightened emotions with this calm state. And there was a point where she felt like she was being disrespected. So, what she noticed is sometimes when her daughter would get upset, she would say things that may have been a little bit rude or disrespectful to mom. And she felt like it just wasn't fair. Like, well, how do I handle that? Absolutely. And in this case, if she's being disrespectful, it's important for you to let her know that you are feeling disrespected and that you have boundaries on that. That's good for two reasons. One is to let her know that you're not going to tolerate that. And another thing is it will model for her how to set boundaries and how to communicate boundaries to people. So if you are able to stand up for yourself in a calm and productive way, not combative, and say what you said was really hurtful, and I will not allow you to talk to me like that, that's it. Boundary set. She'll learn how to do it herself. It's a model for her to be able to do that when she comes across peers or other people in her life, and she wants to set boundaries there too. So, of course, in this situation, always pay attention to how you're being treated, right? You're not a doormat. You have feelings too. You want to support her, but you also need to protect yourself. Okay. So, that is the meat behind all that I'm going to talk about, but I wanted to just review with you the things that I talked about. First was we talked a little bit about how to talk to your daughter, what to say, what not to say. We talked about the three levels of listening and acknowledging and validating and why they're important. We talked about empowering questions, examples of empowering questions that you might want to use when you're talking with her. And then we talked about how to say what you want to say to effectively communicate what is coming up for you. So I hope this was helpful for you. This is part of the work that I do with teen girls and with moms, communication. It really is essential in all areas of life. So, talking about communication builds up confidence, builds up that self worth. And I work one on one with clients to help support them in that area. So, if that's something you're interested in, schedule a conversation with me. It's free consultation. We can talk about your unique situation and how coaching might be able to support you and or your daughter. So if that is something you're interested in, send me a message, send me an email. I would be happy to get on the phone with you and chat about it. Also, just so you know, this is going to be recorded. So if there were some things that you maybe missed or you wanted to hear again, either get on my email list or send me a message. I'll send it your way. Make sure you join my Facebook group, Raising Confident Teen Girls, to get more information on this, updates on monthly calls, and also to get the recording of this sent to you. So join that group if you are interested. But otherwise, I am just thrilled that you were here, and I appreciate you taking the time to support yourself and support your daughter. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here and answer some questions.